The station was unusually quiet that evening. Not silent, but quiet in the way that makes your own thoughts sound louder than the world around you. Arif stood near the edge of the platform, hands in his pockets, staring at the railway tracks as if they might give him an answer. The digital board blinked above him, showing arrival times he pretended not to care about. He had been here many times before, always waiting, always delaying, always telling himself, not today. Arif was not a lazy man. In fact, he worked harder than most people around him. He woke up early, reached home late, paid his bills on time, and fulfilled every responsibility expected of him. From the outside, his life looked stable, even respectable. But deep inside, there was a dream he kept locked away, like an old suitcase pushed under the bed. Every once in a while, he would pull it out, dust it off, look at it, and then push it back again. He used to believe he had time. Time to start later. Time to become better first. Time to wait for the right moment. Whenever fear knocked, he answered it with excuses. When doubt whispered, he listened carefully. Years passed like trains he watched leave the platform without boarding. Each one carried a version of the life he wanted, and each time, he told himself another would come. That evening, the weight felt heavier than usual. Earlier that day, he had met an old friend who once dreamed alongside him. That friend now spoke of achievements, risks taken, failures survived, and lessons learned. Arif smiled and congratulated him, but something inside cracked quietly. On the way back home, he felt restless, as if his own life was asking a question he could no longer ignore. The announcement echoed across the platform, naming the last train of the night. Arif didn't know why he had come here. He wasn't traveling anywhere. Or maybe he was, but he was afraid to admit it. He sat on a bench, watching people rush with purpose. Some looked tired, some excited, some nervous, but all of them were moving forward. No one stood still the way he did. He remembered being younger, when everything felt possible. Back then, fear existed, but it didn't control him. Failure seemed temporary, not permanent. Somewhere along the way, safety became more important than dreams. Comfort became more important than growth. He told himself it was maturity, but deep down, he knew it was fear wearing a reasonable disguise. A middle-aged man sat beside him, holding a worn-out bag. The man looked calm, almost peaceful. After a few moments, he spoke without looking at Arif. He said he had missed many trains in his life, not just the ones at stations, but the ones that could have taken him somewhere better. He laughed softly and said, "The regret doesn't come from failing. It comes from never trying." Those words stayed with Arif. The announcement played again. The train was arriving. The ground beneath his feet vibrated slightly as it approached. People stood up, gathered their bags, and moved closer to the edge. Arif's heart started racing, though he didn't fully understand why. This train wasn't going to a specific place on a map. It felt like it was going somewhere deeper. He stood up slowly. Every step toward the edge felt heavy, as if years of doubt were pulling him back. His mind flooded with familiar thoughts. What if it doesn't work? What if I fail? What will people say? What if I lose what I already have? Each question tightened its grip, reminding him why he had stayed where he was for so long. But then another thought appeared, quieter but stronger. What if this is the last chance? What if there is no perfect time? What if staying is the real failure? The train screeched to a halt. Doors opened. People began boarding. Arif froze. This was the moment he had avoided his entire life, the moment of choosing. He could step forward, or he could step back and return to the safety of excuses. His chest felt tight, and his palms were sweaty. Time slowed down, as if the world was giving him one final pause. He thought about the nights he lay awake, wondering what his life could have been. He thought about the quiet dissatisfaction he carried every day. He thought about the version of himself he kept disappointing. For the first time, the fear of regret felt bigger than the fear of failure. With a deep breath, Arif stepped forward. Not because he was confident. Not because he was fearless. But because he was tired of standing still. As his foot crossed the gap between the platform and the train, something inside him shifted. It wasn't relief. It wasn't joy. It was clarity. The doors closed behind him. The train started moving. Arif sat by the window, watching the platform fade into the distance. He didn't know exactly where this journey would take him. He didn't have all the answers. But for the first time in years, he felt honest with himself. He realized that life doesn't announce its last chances. They arrive quietly, disguised as ordinary moments. And most people miss them, not because they are incapable, but because they are afraid. Afraid to lose, afraid to be judged, afraid to start. As the lights outside blurred into streaks, Arif allowed himself a small smile. Whatever happened next, he knew one thing for sure. He had finally chosen movement over fear. Action over excuses. Growth over comfort. And if you are listening to this story and feel like you've been standing on the platform for too long, waiting for the perfect moment, remember this: the perfect moment rarely comes, but the chance to begin does. And it might be arriving right now, so if this story moved you, inspired you, or made you reflect, please subscribe to the Inspired Paths channel.